And happy Wednesday. I'm the Grey Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily, your masculine, feminine, and non-binary energy update for today. We are going to be doing it for Wednesday, February 4th, 2026. We'll be utilizing for the purposes of our reading. We are going to get started right now we are going to begin our read today with masculine energy. We are going to be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck to begin our reading for masculine. And beginning that reading now, can I get 3 cards, please, for masculine? Highest priority messages from Spirit. 3 cards for masculine come through. We have 1 card that immediately flipped forward as we started to read. The 3 cards we're seeing right now, Page of Pentacles was the first one that immediately appeared in this reading. We also have here showing up the 6 of Pentacles in its upright, as well as the Justice card in its upright. So this is a lot of pentacle energy that we are presently seeing in the headspace of masculine. And I need to be honest about it. I do not mind seeing this much pentacle energy in the headspace of masculine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. Because one of the things that we're effectively identifying and recognizing is working into, right? And I like this. This is a lot of the masculine energy that is working into the recognition of being able to heal energetic connections in the space of the continuation of what we were effectively identifying and articulating in our last masculine, feminine, and non-binary energy update, which is what it means. Connection, a point of masculine, identifying and recognizing what it feels to come into a space of energetic serenity, right? And let's talk a little bit about that energetic serenity point, because it's the modality and the experience. And I need to describe this. The difference between masculine that feels the need to constantly be vigilant in relationality to whether they are arriving to masculinity, right? The ability to effectively heal that is the understanding of the masculine that carries that energy within, right? It's a question. It's not the ability of effectively being performative, right? Because when we're feeling energetically performative about something, we do something with the concern or observation in terms of how it is seen, right? Rather than the masculine that understands that when we truly feel connected to an energy, we work to embody it, right? We identify and recognize the energetic shape of it. It's a quiet journey, right? It's a journey of quiet strength. This is a type of energy that we're not surprised to see coming out of a lot of that full moon, in Leo, right? Because it's the observation. I keep on hearing strength does not need to announce itself, right? Strength does not need to articulate upon the fact that it is strong, right? Strength is shown. Strength is the modality. And you've met people like this, right? The modality by which the strongest person you'll ever meet is often the energy that feels like they do not need to energetically prove anything to anyone, right? That's what we talk about the ability of carrying, right? This is what we move into when we recognize and identify the honor of our own energy, right? And that modality and that experience, I feel like that is a lot of the masculine that's working into the context of being able to feel. And what happens when masculine embodies that force? They become an energetic source of strength, not only for themselves, but for the energy that is all around the self, right? And it's not the modality by which one feels like one must need to rush towards things to effectively improve the fact that one resides within it, but the ability of understanding that one carries that everywhere you go, right? How can I embody the energy that feels like it is reflective? How can I find that modality or that experience by which we're able to energetically articulate the full shape and meaning in terms of how it is that we ourselves identify and feel? And so I see that. I feel like there's a lot of that work that we see that the masculine is doing. And here's the thing about it. Doing that work requires us to recognize and identify those modalities by which we ourselves do not feel energetically complete, right? And this is often why we have to eradicate the falsity of energetic competition, because the universe is very attentive to our needs, right? This is a continuation of what we are seeing. If you work through the modality of saying to the self, I need to be perfect, the universe is going to deliver one thing to you, right? And one thing only: opportunities to compete, right? Competition, competition, competition. Because it is the understanding that of the modality by which we perceive the world helps us recognize and identify what is reflective within it, right? So I feel like this is a lot of the energy. I feel like this is a lot of the energy of the masculine that is moving away from the context of, and I keep on seeing, when we are in a healthy space, we compete with one person and one person alone. Who is that person that I was yesterday, right? Who is that person that I was yesterday? And that is the sound of us energetically arriving or energetically answering the call of our own journey, because it's a perpetual journey of growth that allows us to be able to identify and recognize and feel proud of our in relationality to our own progress. Now, this brings us to feminine energy. And for feminine energy right now, we're going to be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot. Can I get 3 cards, please, for feminine? Feels apropos given the fact that we're in Aquarius season. We've got the 8 of Spades in its reversal. I like to see an 8. I'm sorry, not 8 of Swords. It said spade. I was like, it's 8 of Swords. So let's be clear about that. We've got the 7 of Cups, right? We've got the 7 of Cups in its upright. And we've also got the Ace of Spades or the Ace of Wands in its upright. So let's talk a little bit about what we are seeing there. And it's interesting too, because the word that actually feels the word that actually feels like it's connected right now into the headspace of feminine is the word, and I want to describe this. It's the word by which we identify and recognize the modality by which we make the modality by which we articulate. And I keep on getting this, right? This is a lot of the feminine that works to heal from the context or the situation by which we effectively energetically impress or recognize or identify to the self how we effectively see things. And I think that this is something that's really beautiful as it relates to the feminine energy itself, working into the context of not allowing, right? Not allowing the energetic perception to diminish or confuse one's own energetic intention is what I keep on seeing. Because here's the thing that we recognize, right? Ignorance likes to cluster things is what I keep on seeing, right? Right. Ignorance likes to cluster things, which is the modality by which one sees something and just makes an articulation point in relationality to everything. Right. Like this is what we identify in the modality of recognizing why. And this is why we connect the word ignorance to ignore. Right. Because ignorance ignores nuance. Ignores nuance, and ignorance likes to energetically bucket things, right? Ignorance likes to put everything into a convenient package. And this is why it's actually very important for us to heal from the sense of perfection. Because here's the thing about it. There are those who articulate that they're seeking perfection, but what they really hate is nuance, right? Because when one is working towards the energy of understanding, right? One understands the natural space by which something is like there's a lot of different facets to something. Then you embrace, right? You find a delight in seeing difference within things, right? And this is why, and this is also why when feminine feels that modality by which, and this is why we talk about the fact that comparison is so negative, right? The modality by which the experience of navigating a circumstance or situation is articulated in the polarity by which we identify and recognize things, it allows us to be able to move towards nuanced approaches, right? And this is why I feel like this is interesting, because it does feel like, and I'm not surprised to see this right now, because here's the thing about it. Uranus is now out of retrograde. And where is Uranus moving? Uranus is moving back towards Gemini. And this is what we often see when we talk about the energy related to Gemini, which is the intelligence that allows the context by which one is able to see or recognize the inherent differences in relationality to what one is effectively doing, right? It's working into the capacity of recognizing nuanced approaches to things. And this is why it's so important, because often, and this is what happens, right? Like the modality by which feminine has had to heal in the context of someone saying, why are you giving them this energy and you're giving me that energy? Right? Like the understanding that feminine is not a delivery system for others' energetic needs, but the attenuated feminine that understands, right? They understand and recognize what they need to bring forth within the self as it relates to different circumstances or situations, right? And so I feel like there's a lot of this feminine that is working into the context of being able, and this is why, right? This is why it's so important that we do the work to understand self, because the modality by which we recognize and identify the nuanced approaches that we bring to circumstances or situations, healthy energy, right? Healthy energy values seeing feminine in an adaptability point, right? Because that is the gift, right? The adaptability that feminine can bring to situations in a way is the attenuation of feminine's greatest gift, but it's not the modality by which others energetically contort that, right? And this is often the work that we see that feminine does in relationality to energetic appreciation, the space by which we feel that energetic celebration in relationality to what it is that we give back and forth to one another, versus the modality of energetically expecting something, right? And this is often what happens. Like, this is often what happens in the modality of feminine. Feminine can potentially articulate spaces by which they felt that relationships fractured. And it's not the fact that they didn't feel the need to desire to give forth to it, but in the modality by which another person energetically expected it, right? Rather than receiving it as the energetic gift that it was. Now, this brings us to the non-binary energy. And for the non-binary energy right now, we're going to be utilizing the Tarot del Fuego deck by Ricardo Cavallo. I've got 3 cards here. 1, 2, 3. And they're all, here's the thing. They're all cantilevered. So give me a minute, okay? What do we have appearing here? We've got here effectively the Knight of Pentacles in a cantilevered state, and we're going to hold them cantilevered because this is energetically important. We have the Temperance card that is also in its reversal, but this is also cantilevered. And we also have the Justice card that is cantilevered. Now, all of these cards are coming through cantilevered, and we're going to talk a little bit about it, because this is the energy. I feel like this is a lot of energy, and I want to describe this, which is working into, and I want to kind of like, I want to say, like, and here's the thing with cantilevered readings. Like, when I read cantilevered cards, it's like it's being able to identify, and this is what happens. Like, this is the benefit that happens when you get out of perfection mindset, right? Because when you stop spending all of that time working about being perfect, instead you say, how can I make it energetically mine? Right? Like, this is how we find our exquisite. You cannot find exquisite when you're working through perfection. Because here's the thing about it. Perfection is built upon the false pretense of another's ideal, right? and the modality by which we understand and define our own version of perfect, right? And this is what's beautiful about it. And like, this is what we talk about in relationality to healthy conversations in terms of collective thought, right? The ability of giving each other and sharing each other the opinion of our perfect allows us to be able to amplify more upon what it is that we energetically perceive. And it builds into the modality of understanding. Imagine a world where everybody has a perception point that is absolutely unique, right? Imagine the modality. Perhaps the energetic illusion is the modality by which you assume that another sees things the way that you do, right? And this is what is beautiful in relationality to healing our relationship to perfection. Because when we work instead on perfecting, rather than perfection, we're able to effectively allow for the arrival of new thoughts, new experiences, new energetic perception points. But that only happens, right? That only happens when we start to heal as it relates to our worry in terms of the perceptions of others, right? It's the exploration of finding our own sense of energetic confidence about things. But this is the hard part about it, right? Often there are those modalities or experiences by which we feel energetically suppressed. We feel frustrated, right? The modality by which another person, right? The modality by which we're effectively able to articulate upon something energetically new that often creates the modality by which, and this is what happens with hard thoughts, the modality of experiencing new experiences by which another person articulates wrongness, right? But this is what we effectively work to heal from. The space by which we energetically take new approaches to things allows us to be able to effectively identify and have energetic conversations. And this is what I like about this energy that we're seeing here, because this is the energy that feels the modality of not only recognizing that they have a different point of view, but they're able to articulate upon it, right? And this is what's beautiful about strong. This is what is the framework of a strong energetic opinion, right? A strong energetic opinion is not the modality by which you state it and then you refuse to let go of it and then you don't want to talk about it, right? Like, that's not an opinion. That's not your opinion. That's clearly not opinion. That's clearly not your opinion. You found it somewhere. Where'd you find it? Where'd you find it? Not a lot of thought went into it, right? It's not a lot of thought went into it because a healthy opinion is one that you're energetically eager to talk about, right? Because the more that we energetically talk about things, the more that we effectively fortify them. And then when we fortify them, become even energetically stronger. So it's a conversation of the energy that delights, right? Delights in conversation because they understand that even in the context of conversing, it gives one the ability to effectively explore more and learn more and grow even stronger in relationality to what one is doing, right? It's and this is the thing about it, right? In order to get better at something, you have to be able to foray into wrongness because how else are you going to get better at it if you don't find those modalities or experiences by which you're able to energetically work through something? So that's what I keep on getting for a lot of that energy. Now moving back towards masculine right now. And we're going to do 3 cards for masculine in the heart space and we're going to be utilizing right now we're going to be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot right now for the heart space of masculine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. 3 cards, please. We've got here the 5 of Cups in its upright. We have here the 10 of Wands in its upright. And we also have here the Moon card in its upright. So I love to see these cards here because what we're effectively identifying and recognizing in relationality to a lot of the work that we're identifying and working through is the conversation in relationality to effectively recognizing and identifying the energetic shape or the product of our own heart space, right? And what we effectively see that's happening right now for a lot of that masculine energy is working through the context of identifying and healing one's own shadow, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about this right now because here's the thing about the Moon card, right? The Moon card can sometimes create the modality by which, and this is what we often talk about. And I love teaching on the moon card because I often feel there's some cards in the tarot by which I feel that there's confusion in relationality to the meaning. But what we effectively identify or recognize in the pathwork of the moon card is it's not the modality of navigating energetic illusion, but it is the work to understand, right? It is the work that we do to understand our own, and I keep on getting this, the space of our imagination that allows us to find inspiration versus the unhealthy modality of the ego that often moves us into a framework of delusion is the best way I can describe it. And how does one utilize or understand the nature of the imagination that effectively takes flight, that allows us to aspire for greater, versus the energetic delusion that often feels like it pulls us back into modalities or traumas that we don't feel energetically aligned to. And the best way I can describe this is understanding that the modality of building into a healthy thought is one that is energetically shared, right? It is the modality by which we hold on to something that others can align to as well. And this is why we fortify, like we fortify our manifestations by being able to put them into words, right? Because if there's something beautiful, right? If there's something beautiful that we wish to create, then the way that we're able to navigate how beautiful it is by being able to articulate it to others, right? And if you're ever unsure, right? If you're ever unsure if a manifestation goal that you're working to effectively arrive to is something that, like, if you're not sure if it's in the modality of serving the ego or if it's something that is energetically supportive, put it into words. Start telling others about it. And if there's a moment by which you feel weird doing that, if you feel like you can't, then that is an alarm bell. That is an energetic alarm bell, right? That is the modality by which we recognize and identify, and we build into the space of energetically fortifying. And this is why we say our words are blessed. They fortify our thoughts. And the modality by which we find the confidence to articulate upon our dreams, right? This is why that's no small act. It's the most important thing that one can learn to achieve to do. Because if you've got all these thoughts inside of you, and some of them are good and some of them are serving the ego, but you don't have the confidence to articulate them, how are you going to be able to tell the difference? You can't. Right? So this is a lot of the energy of the masculine. I see this masculine taking on that work because that is the pathwork to serenity, right? The modality of saying, in order to find the serenity of building the life that I aspire to build, I need to be confident in being able to articulate my dreams to others. Because in the confidence point of being able to articulate my dreams to others, I'm able to amplify and articulate a dream that is worthy because it is something that is energetically shared, not only by myself, but by all of the energy that is energetically around me. And so this is a lot of the energy that's working through. Like, this is the culmination of a lot of that full moon in Leo energy that we see, right? The modality of understanding that strength, that confidence, bravery isn't in doing something that we feel energetically confident about. Often the sound of bravery is confronting our own fear to understand the worthiness of what's on the other side of navigating through that energy, right? This is what we see that effectively allows the masculine to come into the sense of their own sense of self, right? The energetic strength it takes, right? And that's not the performative strength. That's not the strength of saying, like, look how strong I am. It is the strength that effectively articulates and says, look how serene I am. Look how serene I am that I have found a way to breathe my dreams into life by getting out of the way of them and being able to be vulnerable enough to express them to everybody energetically around me. Now, this brings us to the feminine energy. And for feminine energy right now, we're going to be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck for the heart space of feminine. 3 cards, please. 1, 2, 3. We've got here the Knight of Swords in its upright. We've got here the 8 of Pentacles in its upright. And we also have here the Page of Cups in its upright. So what are we effectively seeing that's happening right now for feminine? And I want to describe this. And it's interesting too, because I just want to point out something that happened right now, but I also feel like it's important in relationality to the experience of what we're seeing in the cards. I've got two different Smith-Waite decks, and I pulled the new deck. I used the new deck for the first three that I pulled. This is the old deck, right? And this is what's hard, right? This is what I see that's difficult for a lot of the feminine energy right now. The desire, and this is what this is what everybody needs to understand. If feminine did not have to carry this trauma around with them, if feminine did not feel like they had to carry everybody else's trauma on their back, feminine would be even more in their feminine. Feminine would be even more in their feminine. This is what drives feminine wild, right? The modality of feminine being like, I would absolutely love to be in my feminine. Feminine only can be in their feminine if you create a safe space for feminine to be in their feminine. I don't know how to articulate this. You cannot force feminine to be in their feminine. Feminine is a journey of being able to feel energetically safe. It is the modality by which we energetically nourish a space by which feminine can be safe to be their most feminine expression. Right. And this is often what happens with feminine. It makes feminine like want to, like drives feminine wild. Right. The modality by which feminine articulates energy that gets angry. Literally imagine a world by which energy goes, why aren't you in your feminine? Why aren't you in your feminine more? And being like, can't get into my feminine like that, can I? Right. It's a modality. The modality by which energy demands feminine to be in feminine is exactly why you're not going to get any feminine, right? The modality by which you demand anything from feminine, no more feminine, no feminine. It's not that hard to understand. But the modality, but this is often the trauma that feminine experiences. Perpetually being, can you imagine the modality of perpetually being in a state by which you wish you could be more in your feminine, but only being able to be in your feminine if you feel energetically safe. And there you are in the middle of a space by which is energy demanding, energetically demanding that you be more feminine, right? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. It doesn't, it's building into, and this is why, right? This is why we see that this is the feminine that articulates, it says feminine heals feminine by not conceding to energetic demands upon it, right? Feminine heals feminine by not energetically conceding to demands upon feminine, because when feminine feels the modality by which another demands from it, feminine feels like they're energetically performing feminine instead of being in the modality of being embodied within it, right? Let's talk about the fact that feminine often feels the space by which they sometimes feel that the femininity is performative because another person is demanding it, instead of creating the space of energetically cultivating a space by which another person feels like they can energetically embody it. So we see that this is a lot of the feminine, like this is why those old cards came up, because it's a modality of the feminine that often feels energetically separated or disassociated from their own experience in the modality by which another person is demanding that they arrive to it, right? And so that's a lot of the feminine that's working to heal in that modality and capability. And that articulation point, being able to describe, the ability of having to describe a modality by which one feels often the space by which one wishes that one could embody, but often feels the sense of having to perform because the energy around it is not cultivating a space by which one feels safe enough to become it. This is often the weight that the feminine experiences, and it does a number on them. It does an energetic number on them, right? It's a modality by which, and this is often the feminine that feels like they're letting their own feminine energy down in the process because, and again, this is the feminine that understands feminine energy does not need to concede to the demands upon it. It is something that is energetically cultivated. It is something that is energetically nourished. And the modality by which the feminine works to heal is letting go of the energy that tries to make feminine feel like they're perpetually in a space of being compared to the energy that they energetically embody. Now, this brings us to the non-binary energy, and we're going to be moving back into the heart space of non-binary. And we're going to be utilizing for the heart space of non-binary energy right now, we're going to be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot. 3 cards, please. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. And these are all cantilevered in the other way. Of course. All right, one moment, please. We've got here the Knight of Cups in its upright. We've got the 8 of Wands in its upright. And we've got the Hermit card in its reversal. And this is what's interesting. And this is what I see that's going on. A lot of the non-binary energy right now. And I want to describe, like, it's working into the context of often feeling like they have to be in the modality or the experience of navigating others' preconceptions upon them, is all I keep on seeing. A lot of that energy working into the context or the observation of being able to recognize and identify what it is that they themselves, and I keep on seeing, well, this is what's beautiful. Like, this is what's beautiful when we articulate the journey of knowing the self, right? Because it's the modality by which another person tries to say something towards you that one considers one's highest ideal. I keep on hearing the modality by which another person, right? And this is what we talk about, right? I keep on hearing they're very used to having modalities by which another person throws a sling and arrow at them and being like, that's my sling, that's my arrow, right? It's the modality by which the energy knows or owns, like it's the understanding of knowing the self that allows one to effectively understand and recognize those modalities. And this is what's interesting about it, because I keep on seeing, right? There's something about this energy that is very, very good at being able to tell the tonality of conversation. And I need to get into it because this is very nuanced right now. The tonality of conversation between someone who is genuinely interested, right? Someone who is genuinely interested versus someone who is effectively asking. I keep on hearing asking a question meant to create insecurity is what I keep on seeing. Let's talk about this for a moment. What do we see here, right? And this is what I keep on, like, look at this. Like, this is what I keep on getting, right? Like, there's that page of cups, right? Right? And there's that Hermit card in its reversal, right? I keep on hearing the observation of, I keep on hearing a stinging question, right? This is the energy that is very attenuated to the difference between someone that is actively interested versus a stinging question. And what is the difference between someone that is actively working to learn something, right? The modality by which another person asks something sheerly from the space by which they don't energetically understand something, right? The modality by which another person says, I'm being very vulnerable in asking this, but I'm asking this because I hold a desire to energetically learn more versus a stinging question, right? And what is an energetically stinging question? A stinging question is the experience by way or by means in relationality to not necessarily wanting to learn something, but wanting to hurt another person in the asking of it, right? And that's why I see that this energy, like this is the level of attenuation that they have that helps them effectively recognize. I keep wondering the conversations that they're willing to have versus the conversations they energetically avoid. And I keep on seeing in the space by which another person says, how can you tell the difference, right? Actively listening versus stinging question, right? Actively listening, which is something that someone asked, and you recognize the vulnerability it takes to ask it, versus a stinging question by which another person says it with so much confidence that they mean it to energetically hurt. And so this is the energy that effectively recognizes that, right? And even in the modality by which they receive it, they pay attention. I can see this energy almost articulating, saying, I'm very aware of the difference between a vulnerable question versus a stinging question. A true, the active listen, the vulnerability that's required to ask something difficult versus the modality of saying somebody putting it with a question mark, but really acting like it's a punch, right? You can't hide I keep wondering, you can't hide a punch with a question mark. You can still experience, you can still feel it, is what I keep on seeing. And this is the energy that says, even though they can feel it, they work to heal it, which is the modality by which another person says, how do you navigate it? And they go, it never gets easier. It never gets easier, but one is able to see it with more clarity, right? Continuing to get clarification, moving towards the unconscious of the masculine energy. And we're going to be utilizing for the masculine energy right now, the Tarot del Fuego. 3 cards, please. 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. We've got here the 7 of Wands in its upright, the 8 of Cups in its upright, as well as the Queen of Swords in its reversal. So what are we effectively seeing in relationality to these 3 cards? And I want to describe this here for a lot of the and I want to and this is what's hard. I need to stress this. This is what's hard for a lot of the masculine energy that is working on healing. Okay? And this is what we have to recognize. There's a lot of masculine energy that the journey of masculine healing often feels like Atlas energy. Okay? And why does it often feel for masculine energy that when they're working to heal, it feels like it's Atlas energy? Because it's the aware masculine that understands, right, the work that they're trying to do to change something, but in the same context, having to carry the weight of all of the energetic wrongs that have occurred in the context of the masculine that has not been inclined to do that important work on the healing journey, right? Like, this is why when we find masculine, right? This is why we articulate. And when we find masculine, being able to navigate that space, we have to be able to recognize the energetic pressure that one effectively has to work through as one is working to heal that. Because it literally, it feels like, I keep on hearing, it feels like energetic weight, right? How strong one must be, right? The level of energetic strength it must be, not only to be able to carry all of the work by which one is having to effectively recognize, right? But almost the space by which one is understanding that even as one is trying to heal, you have to recognize and feel the empathy of the energy that doubts your own healing journey, right? The modality of understanding. And this is why I feel like a lot of the masculine, when they come into the journey of healing, feels violated by other masculine energy, because it's the modality by which they feel the energetic betrayal and looking back upon something and saying, not only do I have to heal, but I have to carry all of the weight. I have to carry all of the weight of your transgressions on my back, as I try to do better. Right? That is the journey that we see that the masculine has to endure. The hard healing journey by which the masculine feels not only the weight of what it is that they're trying to do better, but having to carry the weight of all of the masculine transgressions on their back as they try to proceed forward on their own journey. And that is a lot of the energy that often recognizes the modality by which sometimes they feel energetically exhausted. It's okay to rest on that journey, right? Rest but never waver, right? When you're moving towards that energetic endeavor, because the modality by which we work to change something is never too small. Every step you take in moving into the right direction is the greatest step that has ever been taken. While for but sometimes those steps feel like they're quiet, right? Sometimes those steps nobody else can see. Recognize spirit sees everything. Don't let that weight build you into the false premise that something isn't energetically changing. Let that understand how important and how strong you are as you continue forward on that journey. While for feminine energy right now, bottom of the deck for feminine, we're going to be utilizing the Tarot del Fuego for feminine as well right now. Can I get 3 cards for feminine? 1, 2, 3. It's funny because they all landed. You know, I'm going to read them like this too, because that's the way they landed. They all landed They all, and I need to point this out. We're gonna have to look back into the heart space of feminine right now to get clarity on these cards. They all and I want to show you this. Okay, there's something I want to show you something very energetically important in these cards, and if you are a tarot nerd, you'll understand it. There's a lot, and if you want to see the full spread, I'm gonna have it posted over on the stack. We've got here, like, look at the feminine heart space right now. Okay, I want you to see the similarity. We've got the Eight of Cups and Pentacles. We've got the Page of Cups. Do you see this? Do you see this Knight of Swords? This is the feminine energy in the heart space saying, I would be more in my feminine if I didn't have to spend every moment trying to figure out who this person is, right? This is feminine going, I am so exhausted of being in state your business, right? This is the feminine saying, I am absolutely, this is the feminine going, feminine saying, absolutely exhausted in constantly, instead of getting to be in their feminine, having to spend every moment on guard, trying to identify the authenticity of the energy approaching them, right? Whether they're coming towards them with true intentions. What a better world the world would be, right? What a world we would have. What an incredible place this would be if feminine did not have to spend all of its time doing this, being an intention processing center, right? This is the feminine going, I want to be in my feminine, but instead I have to be an intention processing center. And then the energy says, why aren't you in the space? Why aren't you in the mood to be more feminine? And feminine being like, I would love to be in the feminine, but I have to be a processing center of intention every single minute, never wavering, right? And so this is a lot of the feminine. And this is why all three of these cards, and I need to point this out, all three of the feminine all three of the feminine unconscious cards, where did they come up with? They came up under this, right? They came up under this, the Knight of Swords, being like, this is the feminine that often feels, right? And this is a feminine that recognizes that their greatest sin will often be articulated in letting the wrong person close to them, right? This is the feminine that says, make it make sense. This is the feminine that says, make it make sense. That this is a world, right? This is a feminine that gets exhausted in a world that says, be in your feminine, be more vulnerable, be more vulnerable. But if you are vulnerable with the wrong person, we will never energetically let you live it down. We will never let you, you will rue the day for the rest of your existence. We want you to be vulnerable. We want you to be vulnerable. Why aren't you more vulnerable? Why, oh, why them? You were vulnerable with them? Unforgivable. Look at it. This is what we do to the feminine. And then you are surprised. And then you are surprised by the fact that you say, why isn't the feminine being more feminine? When we make feminine feel energetically safe, this place becomes beautiful. But it can only become beautiful when feminine is not perpetually in the space of feeling like they have to be a processing center for navigating others' worthy intentions, right? And that is a collaborative effort. That is what we do to shape a world that makes it safe for feminine to be in their energetic feminine. So all of these cards rest within the Knight of Swords. That is not an endeavor. And this is something that we all work towards. And this is why, and I want to point this out, on non-binary energy, cards very similar to what we see in the feminine heart space. Because what do we see here? In the feminine heart space, we had the Seven of Pentacles. The feminine, the Seven of Pentacles. What do we see in the non-binary space? The Eight of Wands. The feminine space. What is between the two cards? We have the Knight of Swords and the Page of Cups. What do we see surrounding the heart space of the non-binary energy? Oh, look, a Page of Cups and a Hermit card in its reversal, right? This is the energy that articulates and says, I would love nothing better than to be constantly not on a space of constantly feeling I have to defend the heart space, right? This is the modality of often this energy working through the space of feeling the weight of others' projections, right? So feminine feeling like, I feel like feminine is feeling the weight of navigating the vulnerability paradox, right? The feminine feeling like they're in a vulnerability paradox that demands that feminine be vulnerable and then condemns feminine when feminine is too vulnerable with the wrong energy or the wrong situation, while we see the non-binary energy constantly being in the modality by which they try to be energetically adaptable. They're always in the modality of being able to see what needs to be brought to a situation, but then in the modality by which another person does not aspire to change, often having the energy that projects onto them when they're bringing forth the thing that is effectively needed in order to effectively change something, right? Like that is the energy that also goes through that modality. However, it's not in the space of embodying themselves, but in the modality by which they are able to effectively attenuate and see others' energetic intentions. And this is why I feel like for a lot of that energy, I would not be surprised if this energy at times walks away from situations and being like, why did you leave? And being like, because they didn't actually want to change. The change that they articulated was their dream, not their reality. 3 cards for the unconscious of the non-binary energy. And again, we're going to be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck for the non-binary energy. Mm-hmm. Oof. Oh, wow. See how that card fly around? 6 of Cups in its upright. Death card, which I don't know if you saw, like jumped up and spun. It jumped up and spun. And the Emperor card in its upright, right? You're not changing in the right way, is what I keep on hearing. And I feel like this is like, and I need to describe this. These are the only cards that are standing up straight right now with the non-binary energy. But and I want to describe this here because it's the conversation. And I feel like what's important about this is I feel like this is energy that is very, very attenuated to understanding their moral fiber, right? This is the energy that says, I know what moral fiber means, right? And what is moral fiber? Moral fiber is what is the heart of energetic spirituality, right? Moral fiber is the heart of energetic spirituality because the modality by which we effectively, I see this energy say that this is the energy that learned to face one person in the mirror every day. And that is the face by which they see themselves. And that is the modality by which they work. I keep on hearing they work to prove to one thing and one person alone. And that is the space by which, and again, this is what's beautiful, right? The space by which we live in the way that we can see ourselves and we see the energetic beauty that emerges within us because we are the energetic force of change that we hope to see in the world, and the modality by which it often feels like it's energetically thankless, right? The modality by which you will go through the world trying to be the force of change. And there'll be those that will effectively misunderstand you. There'll be those who effectively will project onto you. There'll be those who effectively say, why even bother, right? Because that when the song of saying why even bother is the sound of giving up on things, right? What difference does it make? Why bother? That is the sound of you abandoning your own journey, right? Everything we do energetically matters more than you can understand. And when we recognize and identify that, right, then we become very energetically careful. And this is what we talk about. This is why we identify the word care. And this is what's often difficult because when we care about things, we worry, right? It's hard because when we care about things, we worry. We worry constantly. But then we have to do the work of making sure that others who experience our love don't experience the worry, right? Right? We transmute that worry into bliss, right? We change that experience from how we feel it into how others hold it. And I feel like often this energy has that modality by which they keep a lot of that within, right? And I keep on seeing the reason that that energy keeps a lot of it within is the modality that says that that is the gift that they give forth to the world around them, right? It's the energy and others kind of seeing them and saying, why aren't you worrying more? Another person going, what makes you think I'm not worrying? Being like, you don't look upset. And being like, what is being upset and worried going to do? Right? The being upset doesn't change the worry. It just makes the worry everything. So this is the energy that says, I know where to put my worry. I put my worry into action. I put my worry into action, right? You take that energetic force and you put it in a place by which it'll help, right? And this is how we change things, right? We don't let the worry overwhelm us. We move it into a place where we know that it will work best. And so that's a lot of the energy that often articulates, because it's the other, I feel like this is energy that others see and be like, how are you so strong right now? Being like, what are you talking about? this is this is a worry transmutation factory, right? We take that and we move it into the space by which we know that it will have the most import. Right? And this is how strong love is. Like imagine a force by which you can take all that fear and put it into the space by which you hold something dear, right? It's just immediately the modality by which you are able to find it and say, nope, this is where you're going with that, right? This is where you're going. You just take it and say, where can I put this? Where can I put this, right? Where can I take this worry energy and put it in a space by which it actually changes something, right? And it comes into the space of energetic productivity. So I feel like even for this energy, it's an understanding of saying, you also deserve rest. Okay? You also deserve rest. And especially if it's not something that, if it is something that you would eagerly give another, understand that you deserve that too. Bottom of the deck on these readings, masculine energy right now. We're going to be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot for the masculine energy on, yep, Ace of Pentacles in its reversal. And I need to stress this. I need to stress this because there's a lot of pentacles in the headspace of masculine. Your value is intrinsic. Your value is intrinsic. If you're feeling like this right now, masculine, I want to understand your value is intrinsic and necessary, especially. And if you feel like you are moving against a stream, I say that twice. I say that even more. If it feels like it is thankless, I need to stress that it is intrinsic. Okay? If it is thankless, it is intrinsic. Don't stop, keep going. For feminine energy, unconscious, we'll be utilizing the Tarot del Fuego. 10 of Swords in its reversal. And this is what I keep on, and here's the thing about it. A lot of the same message that I'm seeing right now for feminine, right? Feminine, right? I keep on hearing allow energy, right? And I keep on hearing this. Healthy energy roars when necessary. Healthy energy roars when necessary, which says the feminine is not in the modality of understanding. And this is why we do the work to process our emotions, right? And this is why you talk about with healthy emotions, roar when necessary, which is the modality that says, as long as your emotions have healthy directions attached to them, it's okay to articulate them very loudly, very clearly, because the modality by which we articulate upon something that energetically bothers us builds into the energetic space by which we are able to articulate why something is so energetically important to us, right? It's the modality by which we are able to feel the expansiveness point of our feelings. But again, that as long as our feelings have healthy directions attached to them, right, our feelings become instructions. And our instructions help us to discern what feels like it is energetically productive, right? So this is a lot of the feminine feeling the honor and power of their words, not in order to fix things, but to discern what can be fixed. While for non-binary energy right now, utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck, bottom of the deck, 4 of Pentacles, right? We are not responsible for another's rigidness. It still hurts, right? Sometimes, and I like to point this out, the intrinsic value of a strong opinion is in the space by which you can explain why you hold it. I'm going to say that again. The intrinsic value of a strong opinion or standard, a standard is only strong when we can explain why we hold it. And in the modality by which, and this is why I see this energy that works very carefully on their standards, right? This is energy that says if we do the work to understand our standards, we expect that of others, right? It's the expectation that we arrive to in relationality to our standards that allow the capability or the identification of saying, I know what my standards are, but not just having standards, because often our trauma likes to hide itself as a standard. This is why it's so dangerous to have a standard you can't explain, because there is nothing better There is nothing more that trauma loves to do on this earth than to masquerade as a standard. And the way you can usually tell that it's trauma masquerading as a standard are 4 words. 4 words. Okay? You want to figure out where trauma is masquerading as a standard? Ready? What are those 4 words? Because I said so. Because I said so. The 4 words you will find that will help you identify trauma masquerading as a standard. Because I said so. Don't look beyond it just because I said it. That is a standard. That is a trauma masquerading a standard. A healthy standard we can extrapolate upon. We can explain. We can build a lecture. We'll go on about this forever. That's what the universe has been doing. The universe has been like, allow me to explain why this is so important. Okay. So when we effectively understand why we have standards, we avoid the universe lecturing us on why it's important. Okay. This is why I cannot stress to you how important this is. Because when you don't explain it, the universe will elaborate upon it. Okay. I'm trying to do you a favor. That That is our daily collective read for today. I would like to thank you for being here and receiving these messages. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. So I would encourage you to do it there. A couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who participated in our recent class on the World Card. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, February 18th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Sword Suite court cards. If you'd like to become a part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a paid subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive. Now, it's not necessary to catch up. I'll do my best to give you an update on everything we've studied prior to beginning that next class, but the material is there for you to receive as you're ready to receive it. You'll also have access to a complimentary one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything we've learned and studied thus far. And if you become a founding member to my stack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, you'll also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive. You'll also have access to a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage, moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my weekly newsletter there, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my online live schedule. You'll also be notified as to any new mystic meditation articles as well. I just wrote one recently on this full moon in Leo that we just experienced. I'd also encourage you to head over to my stack to learn more about a very special retreat that we're going to be hosting this August. I'd like to invite you to join me August 8th through 13th. We will be studying and learning about the tarot in the location by which the tarot was first documented to be discovered, sharpening our tarot skills while understanding the culture that allowed the tarot to be able to grow and thrive. Everyone that participates in that retreat will not only be receiving one-on-one classwork by me, but you'll also be eligible in receiving a complimentary mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best advantage while we're on that retreat. You can head over to my stack to learn more about that, or head over to my tree that is mentioned in my bio. This is the final week to pre-register if you would like to secure a spot on that retreat. Reminder, you do not need to send the full amount to be able to register or to secure your spot. And if you sign up before the 16th, you'll also be eligible and receiving a $200 discount when you sign up to secure your spot on our retreat program. I look forward to potentially seeing you there. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students that are seeking a more personalized, more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or biweekly, as your schedule permits. Also, for my students seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or biweekly, as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also very happy to now offer dream interpretation readings, which can be purchased per dream or as a series. If you purchase the series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or bi-weekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. That said, I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.